What's up, Cardfighters? Ryan here from Vanguard Central, bringing you guys a brand new Touken Ranbu Deck Profile. And so we actually got our hands on this deck, well, not the deck, but actually just the cards in general, earlier today because that's when it actually came out. So we were able to get it right away when the set released, and we try to put a deck together as fast as possible so you guys can see what the deck's all about, how the clan works, and basically how cool these guys actually are. So let's go ahead and get started, guys, with our grade 3s. We are running 4 copies of Surumaru. He's basically the stride break card for Touken Ranbu. So every time you stride, you can soul charge one and choose 2 of your units. They get plus 3k each. So it's kind of like a Genesis slash Ultimile stride. And it's like for free too, so it's pretty cool. And his first ability is a Homare. So you can only pay the cost for a Homare ability once per turn for any units. You can only pay it once, and usually these skills are freaking OP. So his skill, for example, when the unit's attack hits a Vanguard, you can Soul Blast 1, unflip a damage, and choose a grade 3 card from your drop zone and return it to your hand. So basically you get that free stride fodder. And next we are running 4 copies of Ichigo. Ichigo is probably our boss rearguard. I really like having him on the side because his ability is a Shinken Hissatsu, and Shinken Hissatsu is basically limit break, but 3 or more damage. And so, as a Vanguard or Rearguard, you can counterblast 1, Soul Blast 1, and when it attacks a Vanguard, you may pay the cost, and it gets plus 4k for each Rearguard with Toshiro in its card name until end of turn, or until end of that battle, sorry. And so it makes pretty fat numbers if you do have those Toshiro Rearguards. And a few of our triggers and also our grade 1s have Toshiro in its name, so as long as those dudes are in the back row, then this guy's going to be swinging for big numbers. That's why I like having him as a rearguard and as a backup. Not so much a boss, but just there for the rearguards. That's why I max him out at 4. Moving on to our grade 2s, guys, we are running 4 copies of Kanesada. Forgive me for not pronouncing all their names because it's pretty hard. I'm still having trouble with remembering them, so I'm just using at least part of their name. And so his skill is Shinken Hissatsu, so same thing, if it's the ability is active if you have 3 or more damage. And so when he's boosted, he's actually one of the most broken cards in this deck. When he's boosted, you can Soul Blast 1. If you do until the end of that battle, it gets plus 3k, and at the end of the battle that this unit attacked, choose one of your units with Shinken choose one of your units with the Shinken Hissatsu ability in your back row, and you may return it to your hand. And so basically there's a kind of like not really an infinite combo, but a really great combo that hit for a nice 23 plus lane every single turn, as long as you have the counterblast for it. So I think it's a really strong card. I feel like the deck that I kind of came up with is very rearguard oriented to the point where your columns swing for so high, pushes a lot from their hand. I really like this deck. And then next we have 3 copies of Hasabe. Hasabe is a really funny card. He also has the Homare ability, so of course it's a really OP ability. So let's go and check it out. So when his attack hits a Vanguard, you can counterblast 1, and if you do, you can stand him, and until end of turn it gets plus 2k, and he can't attack a Vanguard anymore, but he can attack units in the back row. So you can go ahead and get rid of those ugly starters or ugly boosters like Milius, for example, or Judge Bow, and swing at that. So imagine stacking all the triggers on this guy and then just swinging with like 21 with 3 crits on him. That's so funny. Or 26, 3 crits. That's more reasonable. Then next we got 2 copies of Masakuni. He's basically a 12k hitter, except Shinken Hissatsu. So when he attacks a Vanguard and you have 3 or more damage, he gets plus 3k until end of that battle. And then next we are running 2 copies of Shishio. Shishio is a really nice tech that I think, also with the Shinken Hissatsu ability, you can counterblast 1, Soul Blast 1, and choose a card from your hand and discard it. With when he attacks a Vanguard, you may pay the cost, and if you do, draw 2 cards. And he also has resist, which is pretty neat. So he's a pretty dirty card if you get him in the front row. And even though he's a 7k, he's actually really strong in this deck, considering you can still get over the 16k problems, and also make him pretty strong with this 1 stride, and also the grade 1 that I'm going to talk about pretty shortly. And so he's kind of like a Skull Witch in the main, but on attack. Moving on to our grade 1s, we are running 4 copies of Sephiroth. Just kidding, it's Samonji. He's basically the perfect card for Touken Ranbu. He's what we're going to run, basically unflipping perfect card. He's the only one for Touken Ranbu, so that's why we're running him, of course. And then 4 copies of the Stride Fodder. I'm not going to try to pronounce his name. It's Imano Tsurugi, I believe. So forgive me for my Japanese, it's very meh. And so this is actually not your average stride fodder. It has a really unique skill, so you can, as a rear guard, you can put him into the soul, choose one of your grade 4 or greater units, and it gets plus 5k and a Homare ability. So here we go again, guys. It's going to have a really OP skill. When its attack hits a Vanguard, you can Soul Blast 1 and unflip 2 damage. So it adds a lot of pressure to your strides, especially your first strides, because the first strides are pretty devastating in this deck. Once we get to them, I'll show you guys. And then next we are running 3 copies of Horikawa Kunihiro. And this guy is the one I was talking about with the Shinken Hissatsu ability. So when he's placed on rear guard, you may pay the cost, and then you can counterblast 1, soul charge 1, and it gets plus 4k. So if you go ahead and combo that with who I was talking about earlier, wow, I already forgot his name. Oh, Kanesada. So basically, you can go ahead and make this column 23 every single time, as long as you have the counterblast for it, because at the end of the battle, when you boost and you use his skill, you can go ahead and bounce him back to your hand. And set up the skill for next time, and you soul charge for his soul blast. So it's basically free. It's a pretty broken combo. I think that's my favorite combo to do in this deck. And then we have 3 copies of Namazuno Toshiro. So we have a Toshiro for our 1 grade 3 for a Surumaru. Not Surumaru, sorry. Oh, it is Surumaru. Yeah, no, for Ichigo. Sorry, it's so confusing, guys. So many different names. But it's for the blue-haired Ichigo, not from Bleach. And so what his skill is his continuous, actually I don't have enabled in this deck, just because he runs another copy of another Toshiro card, and he gets plus 2k during your turn. So it becomes 8k instead. But I really use him just because when he boosts Ichigo, he gets an additional plus 3k. So he's a 9k booster on Ichigo, and then plus the Toshiro name, then you get basically plus, what is that, 3k, or 14, 15, 24. So it swings for 24 when you use the Ichigo skill, as long as you have him boosting at Toshiro. That's pretty neat. Moving on to our triggers, we are running 8 crits. 2 of them being Toshiro. You can switch it up. I just had them set up like this because it's how I had it. And then 3 of the basically double R crit clone, except this one's different. It's not name resistant. I mean name specific. Yeah, name specific. And so his skill, I only have 3 guys, sorry, I didn't get the 4th one, I forgot. So when your Vanguard attacks, if it's stood, you may pay the cost. So you can't do like the boost combo with like the other ones. This guy has to be standing on the field, and then you can put into your soul, choose 2 of your units, get plus 3k until end of turn, and you do draw a card. So it's kind of like a semi-clone, but it works really well in this deck because it makes your lanes even bigger, giving plus 3k to 2 units in the front row. So I think that's really neat. And then 4 draw, a Toshiro draw, and then 4 heal. The only heals I think that we have. But still. And for our starter, we are running, I forgot his name, Kasen Kanesada. So Kanesada is basically like a Tiffany clone. You can put him into the soul, choose 2 of your units with the Shinken Hissatsu ability, and they get plus 3k until end of turn. So what's really neat is if you want to make that super combo with the other Kanesada and the Carne Asada, this dude, and grade 1 OP boy with Kunihiro, you basically make this, and you can use his skill, give plus 3k to both Shinken Hissatsus, because now it's an even bigger column. So this is a guy, I really enjoy playing this guy because you can make those power plays when necessary, when you really want to. That's why I really like playing him. And moving on to our G-Zone, guys, we are running 4 copies of Iwatoshi. I think this is the best stride for the deck. Granted that it's not Generation Break 2 or anything like that. Okay, listen to this, guys. Counterblast 1, once per turn. Counterblast 1, choose a face down card of himself, unflip it. Until end of turn, it gets this unit battles all of your opponent's units in the front row in 1 attack. So it's basically a Vermilion. A Vermilion on the first stride. Just think about playing Sanctuary Guard. They have to like... It's so hard for them to recover their field. Okay, not true because Ultimails exist, but for any other rear guard reliant deck that can't superior call as easily as Royal Paladins, imagine hitting this like 2 times and just blowing your opponent's field. Like, it's ridiculous. It's so funny because to me it's free, and then on top of that your rear guards are hitting for a bajillion. So I think that's awesome. And then we are running 1 copy of Tarotachi. Tarotachi is another good guy because during your turn, he's kind of like a mini Regalier. These guys are just ripping off everything. And it gives all your Shinken Hissatsu units it gives all of your units with Shinken Hissatsu ability in the front row plus 3k. So it makes those big numbers even bigger, and makes maybe 17s, makes some 20s, or 18s, 21s, or 21s, 24s. So get the bigger number, hits the rear guards. It's crazy. Like, these cards are actually really good. And we are running 2 copies of Hotaru Maru. Hotaru Maru is kind of like the bait. He's the funniest restanding stride ever, because when he does restand, he does get -2 drive checks, and his cost is huge, but it is the Homare ability. You can use him as the first stride, so if you have the field requirement for it, you can go ahead and pull off a freaking restand right away, but he does get -2 drive. But it's not a big deal, because you can just stack all the triggers on this guy, and if they can't guard that, like, double crit, it'll be game right there. Because if it's the first stride, like, what are the chances of them having a perfect guard? Very unlikely unless they're super lucky. And they are running 1 copy of Mikazuki Munechika. And unfortunately, he is the generation rare. That's why we only have 1 copy right now. He's pretty pricey, around almost $40. But his skill is amazing. Like, he's kind of like a Saint Blow and a Vermilion combined, but in dude form with a sword. And generation rare. And so basically his skill, guys, is once per turn, you can counterblast 1 and choose any G unit in the G zone, turn it face up. And then he basically gets plus 3k for every face up card in the G zone, so like a mini Saint Blow, except rear, not rear guards. And then for every 2 face up cards in your G zone, you can choose an opponent's rear guard in the front row and retire it. So if you do a double Iwatoshi, Iwatoshi, and you Vermilion them twice, you can Vermilion them again, and then swing with the crit for a freaking big number, because it'll be plus what, 15k, because you have 4 face up already, and then you stride, you flip another copy of, say, like Jiotachi or the Hotaru Maru. Ooh, I'm trying to remember these names. Alright. And so basically you flip over the copy and it swings with another crit Vermilion. Like, dude, these guys are gonna have a lot of trouble keeping the rear guards in the front row, because you're just freaking destroying them with your strides. And so I think it's really good because it helps with the late game and it swings with the crit for huge amounts of pressure. So it's kind of like Dude Olivia, but Saint Blow and Vermilion combined. So he's Saint Blow Mivia. Sounds like a wizard spell. So thanks for watching, guys. That was our Touken Ranbu deck profile. Let us know what you guys think. If you guys do know the deck pretty well or have played the mobile game on your phone, let us know down below if you guys think this is a really fun clan. I personally think it's good. I think Chris and I, and Clark, the 3 of us here at Vanguard Central, thought that this deck was not going to be any good, but they're really fun to play when we were messing around with it earlier today. So guys, thanks for watching, like our videos, and please comment below if you have any questions, and subscribe for more content, and like our videos. It helps out a lot, guys. And Vanguard Central, out.